What's up? Welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to be covering the main event of UFC Fight Night taking place September the 12th between Waterson and Hill. Specifically, Michelle Waterson versus Angela Hill. This is the second time I'm actually recording this because the first time camera died. So we're back. Before we go on, I just want to let you guys know that I'm going to be making more predictions. I've made these ones already for this event specifically, but I'm also going to be making ones in the future. So if you guys are interested in that, I know we have Paulo Costa against Israel Adesanya. We have Colby Covington against Tyron Woodley. If you guys are interested to check out fight predictions for those fight cards as well, make sure to subscribe to be notified when I do post them. Now, without further ado, let's get into this fight. So before we get into it, quick recap. So this fight was supposed to be the co-main event alongside the fight between Glover Teixeira and Thiago Santos. The problem was that Glover Teixeira, unfortunately due to the circumstances of the pandemic, tested positive. And therefore the whole battle was canceled. And so what happened was that Waterson and Hill became the main event. That's basically where it's at. Before saying anything else, I want to let you guys know what the odds are for this fight. Angela Hill is the current favorite at -138, and Michelle Waterson is the underdog at +110. The main event is going to be a 5-round fight between these two fighters who were actually both Invicta Fighting Championships at one point. We both know that they're both going to try and make a statement coming September 12th. Specifically, Angela Hill is interested in having the chance to snatch a first victory as a headliner after having lost to Claudia Gadelha in a controversial manner. We'll get into that later, of course. On the other hand, Michelle Waterson is looking to bounce back from 2 decision defeats against Joanna Jędrzejczyk, which, like, you can't really do anything about. Jędrzejczyk is just like 6 of me couldn't take on Jędrzejczyk, really. And the fact that I nailed this name 3 times, just I'm so surprised. Okay, and at the same time, she's trying to redeem her decision loss also against Carla Esperanza. So let's start with Angela Hill for a sec. So she has a record of 12-8 in the UFC. And she's a fighter that's not afraid to take the fights into the deep waters. We've seen her do this throughout her career, having finished 7 of her 12 via decision. So Hill is coming into this event having won 3 of her last 5 fights. And basically, this is excluding the controversial loss. So basically, what happened was that she fought against the number 6 strawweight Claudia Gadelha, which, like, had she beat Gadelha, she would have completely jumped the rankings like crazy. But basically what happened was that she dominated Gadelha the whole fight, and everyone basically thought that Angela Hill won. But what happened was that she was given the loss via decision, despite the fact that only 4 of 17 judges scored Gadelha as the winner of that fight. And so this goes to show when they say, like, never leave the fight to the judges, this is exactly why. Because I don't know what they're smoking, but hey, if I could have some just to see the way that they think, that'd be insane. Because, dude, if only 4 of 17 judges believe that a fighter won, you can't just go, oh yeah, the majority, what is that? Don't know her. Like, and then just go for the 4th. It makes no sense. So anyways, this completely tainted Angela Hill's chances of potentially climbing in spectacular fashion the strawweight division. As we saw from the Gadelha fight, we know that Angela Hill is extremely dominant and an extremely effective fighter on the feet. I mean, listen, you don't just hand the World Kickboxing Championship to just a random person, or else I would have had it. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's an extremely good fighter on the feet. However, if I had to pick like a difficulty or a weakness, if you will, in Angela Hill's game, it's her ground game, because she's lost 8 fights, and then of those 8, she has lost 2 via submission. Okay, obviously this doesn't say much, right? But it's on rare occasion that you see Angela Hill submitting someone. Usually she will either go for the knockout, or for the most part, she'll take them via the decision, as we've seen her do. Now, specifically, those two losses via submission suffered by Angela Hill were against Rose Namajunas, who, listen, like, one of, if not the best, like, listen, she's definitely up there with the top 5 fighters because, man, Rose Namajunas is an absolute champion. And at the same time, she wants to, and at the same time, the other fighter who she lost via submission was against Randa Marcos. Now, against a fighter like Michelle Waterson, who I would argue is an expert in the ground game, it could potentially be a negative result for Hill if she lets Waterson sort of do what she does, which is to take you down, slowly get on top, put you in holds, etc., etc. Now, we've talked about Hill, absolute venomous fighter on the feet. Now, let's talk about Michelle Waterson. So, Michelle Waterson is currently ranked 8th in the women's strawweight division. So her versatility and fighting background is actually extremely impressive because she has an elite level of karate, Muay Thai, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. She has a current record of 17-8 in the UFC, but she's coming into this fight night with 2 straight losses, which is never easy, okay? Listen, like, if you want to apply the psychological aspect, I think it definitely plays a role because when a fighter loses once, it's like, oh, dude, I lost once. Let me try to redeem myself. You lose again, that's like a double slap to the face. You know what I'm saying? That's like you get hit in the face and then you try to come back up and then the second person comes and just kicks you while you're on the ground. You know, that's like the mentality you are bringing. But again, a fighter like Michelle Waterson, I feel like she has the experience. She's gone through losses before. And so I don't really think it'll play that big of a role. But having said this, in fights, it does play a role. Yeah, and at the same time, like those 2 losses faced by Michelle Waterson weren't against me and my brother. They were against 2, you know, arguably world-class fighters in Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Carla Esperanza. So, I mean, 2 very tough fights. It's understandable. Like, it's not one of those things where it's like, oh, she lost to Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Like, it's like, oh, she lost to Joanna. It's like, oh, I mean, fuck. What do you want to do about it? You know, she's one of the toughest. So again, if I wanted to compare the 2 fighting styles between Angela Hill and Michelle Waterson, I would safely say that Michelle Waterson has the more versatile fighting background. Like, again, we talked about how she has the Muay Thai, the BJJ, as well as the karate. But at the same time, Angela Hill has world-class stand-up game. Like, the World Kickboxing Championship is like, being a champion of the World Kickboxing Association is like I think it's one of the scariest titles you could hold. Like, it's like writing an application letter. It's like having Harvard on your resume as a student. It's like, damn, bro. It's like, you go to Harvard. You go to Harvard, no? Okay. Come back next time, we'll talk more. You know, like you tell them like, oh, I go to another uni. It's like, oh yeah? Okay. We'll let you know when you can come back. And then they just like throw your email down the drain, never talk to you again, and you're just like on your phone, like waiting like this. My mind just goes on tangents. But so I think a moment that crystallized Michelle Waterson's ability to showcase her submission was against Paige Van Zandt, which was the headliner in 2016. So basically, like, we know Paige Van Zandt, who's currently in the bare knuckle fighting championships. What, dude? Why would you just listen. I don't need to tell you anymore. The fact that she signed up for bare knuckle shows you how tough of a fighter Paige Van Zandt is. So basically, Michelle Waterson, they're like stumbling together, and then she gets her in a hold, and Paige Van Zandt is just like not willing to tap, right? And so then like you have Waterson that continues to crank, and then it just got so deep to the point where Paige Van Zandt had to tap. And so this goes to show, if this fight is taken on the ground, Michelle Waterson will get the upper hand, in my opinion, because she has that BJJ level. And that's basically it. As I've previously touched upon, it is of no unfamiliarity that both of these fighters are not scared of taking this fight into the later rounds. Like, none of them really have the urgency to just absolutely end it in the first round. They're comfortable as well with just letting the fight go, or should I say they're comfortable with getting after it until the fight has to stop. Personally, what I think is going to happen is, if this fight remains on the feet, I think Angela Hill is going to win it, just because her performance that she displayed against Claudia Gaudela was something that, like, she really deserved more from that fight, and she showed that she was a top contender for the division. However, if Michelle Waterson is able to craft her plan in a way that she can get Hill on the ground, that's where she can potentially start building and working her engine to get the upper hand for this battle. I'm going to predict an Angela Hill victory. But at the same time, I'm interested to know what you guys think. How do you think the fight is going to go? Could Michelle Waterson actually submit Angela Hill and completely take over the division? Or is Angela Hill just going to knock her out? Or will it just be left in the judges' hands? Which I hope not, because they just don't see it right, you know? I mean, I don't know. Not every time, but like it's happened many times, especially like John Jones against Reyes. Like, dude, Reyes won that fight. Like, need I say more? And then they just gave it to Jones. Whatever. Comment down below. If you guys like these fight predictions, there's going to be more upcoming. I previously touched upon how there's going to be Colby Covington against Tyron Woodley, Israel Adesanya against Paulo Costa, which is going to be extremely interesting to look at. If you're interested in that stuff and you want to see more, subscribe to the channel. And if you do subscribe and I see you guys in the next one, then I'll see you guys in the next one.